Oh, hey, you pussies, I'm back. The Modern Psychopath is 2 parts. I'm surprised I haven't seen this then. You get permission? Yeah, last time Oki reached out.
Chances are that you have no idea who Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman are.
That's 100% accurate.
Well, in that case, sit tight while I fill you in on the details of the shenanigans. And believe me, there's a lot to get through with these two, and most of it's nuts.
Today we're presenting some very serious allegations against Senator Elizabeth Warren.
He kind of looks like a John Schnatter if he was less greasy. John Schnatter's Papa John, the guy who claimed he'd eat 40 full pizzas in like a month or whatever, or a week, whatever the fuck it was. Man who's perpetually covered in oil. They look super similar.
Involved in a very explicit relationship with a male escort who stands to my left side, a decorated U.S. combat veteran, somebody who served our country, a war hero, truly. I don't think this is a funny thing.
Why are they what's going on?
You're probably wondering what's happening here.
Yeah.
What you're watching is footage from a press conference in which Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman promised to expose Senator Elizabeth Warren for an extramarital affair involving this guy, Kelvin Willey, who claimed to be a male escort.
Senator Elizabeth Warren first secured my services from a website called Cowboys for Angels. This site is for attractive young men, as you can see. At the time, Senator Warren wanted not just rough sex, but extensive BDSM play. I'm sure you're quite
Why is this happening?
Sure. She was very sexually adventurous. And Senator Warren engaged in lesbian sex with my friend from high school.
Well, hold on, hang on. What we're gonna show you now is that the sex between our client here and Senator Warren was so violent that he actually obtained scars on his back. You can see 2 scars here.
Oh, he has a triple X tattoo. Like, that's nutty. Xander Cage, baby. His only tattoo is the triple X logo. This is classic Vin Diesel. Ice Cube in the sequel, too.
That was from Senator Warren's transgressions.
Unbelievable.
Between late 2018 and 2020, Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman held several press conferences to smear major United States politicians with completely fabricated stories. Most of them are held in front of Jack Burkman's house. A TV out front displays a graphic pertaining to the event. This one says, Elizabeth Warren, cougar? Their security guard, Louise, stands there looking confused.
Get that guy out of there. He's freaking me out. Get that guy out of there.
Come on.
They bring out an accuser who can barely read the script handed to them without laughing or messing up the details.
Using a lime green strap-on dildo.
Is it supposed to be a comedy routine? Because this is great.
And a crowd of hecklers form just to mock the living shit out of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, people just saw right through it. I mean, there were continuous lies.
Other common fixtures of these events are a guy playing a banjo.
Hey, you're gonna have to stop with the banjo, or you're gonna be kicked out. Yeah.
Well, no, Louise isn't gonna do anything. He hasn't done anything yet.
No, you're gonna have to stop. You're gonna have to stop with the banjo.
Thanks, Yusuf Chevalier and Oasis.
A spread of donuts, a guy in a corn cob costume.
This is amazing. It's like Comic-Con.
Currently, they're facing legal battles in 3 different states for their antics. Jacob Wohl, who only recently turned 23, has also been hit with unrelated felony charges for fraud. Their actions have only served to irreparably tarnish their reputations. Reputations that were already sullied to begin with. Then their smears have only been a detriment to their cause. And
I disagree. I think they've done a great job.
Well, then the joke's on them, since they're both facing the possibility of serious time in federal prison for their latest stunt. What remains unclear to me is, why do they do what they do?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
What do they gain? What motivates them to constantly shoot themselves in the foot?
I don't think I've ever seen them before.
Hi, I'm Jacob Wohl. I'm running for ASB Treasurer. If you want more dances,
Baker and
more spirit days, more
star.
lunchtime competitions, and a better treasurer, then you need to vote for me. The way I'll promise more money is to do better fundraisers and better dances that will bring in more money for the school. And
alright, he's got my vote.
Fun for you. These people sure want Jacob to be treasured.
Jacob Wohl was born on December 12th, 1997 in Los Angeles, California. His father, David Wohl, is a criminal defense attorney and media personality. His mother, a social worker. A child of divorce who grew up in Corona, California, Jacob spent his youth shooting guns, playing basketball, and accompanying his father to television news studios.
Oh, he just got fucking dunked on in his own highlight reel. Come on.
It's got one
Have mercy.
caliber slug and 3 double-aught buckshot pellets in here, and we're gonna test it out on
Thank you for another 10 socks. Thank you, man.
These days, he focuses on his career as a lawyer, sharing his conservative political beliefs on Twitter, and posing shirtless in boudoir calendars.
Wait, I'd like to read that caption. The Breck Worsham official 2020 calendar. I thought this was his own post. Pretty cool. I mean, the dad bods, it's in, man. It's here to stay. MAGA just got hot. Nice. Is this not like a problem for him in like his career? Considering he's like an actual legal lawyer? I feel like posing for boudoir calendars is probably not great. Why would it be? Because they have to maintain like a crazy strict image, don't they? Saul Goodman can do it, he can. I guess that's true. I need this man to defend me in court shirtless. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I've seen his nipples now. So that, to me, that screams vulnerability.
Boudoir calendars.
Win, lose. A lot of my childhood came down to winning or losing.
If you take Jacob's word to heart, then he was a financial prodigy who shorted 5 shares of SPY when he was only 8.
My first trade was shorting 5 shares of SPY when I was 8. And,
Wow.
Hold on, let's back up for a second. Shorting 5 shares of SPY, but who taught you this stuff?
He
to
taught
explain
himself.
more, here's
Prodigy.
Mark Meelan, a leading expert in non-correlated investing and journalist who covered Jacob Wohl's early days.
He claimed that when he was 8 years old, he shorted 5 shares of SPY. And can you explain what that is and why you're laughing?
Okay, because I've had kids. An 8-year-old kid, I guess it's possible.
It's not
I
only possible, it
consider
happened.
highly unlikely.
And
If
everyone
you look
clapped.
at Wohl's life, you can break it down into patterns of deception. He had his hedge fund period, but then there was a discernible, repeatable pattern. That after he got out of his hedge fund period, he later spiraled into something completely different in the political world. But
I'm sure everyone knows it's
degrees
false.
of legal and/or regulatory trouble.
He parlayed his interest in the stock market to become a commodities trading advisor for average Joes like his gym teacher. The operation was most definitely small time.
Why
but
would
it made for a
why
nice
would his
little human interest story
gym
for local
teacher
cable
trust
news
him?
stations like KTLA, which featured him in a segment called Orange County High School Hedge Fund Manager Earns the Nickname Wohl of Wall Street. Wohl of Wall Street being an obvious play on the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and definitely a moniker that Jacob assigned to himself.
So I want to get on Monster Energy as an underlying. I'm very competitive and I'm good with numbers, so it's almost a natural.
Excuse me, I'd like to own Red Bull.
Group about 4 months ago.
What do you mean,
with
no?
his classmates as his first investors.
Nice job, guys. Nice job.
One of those
Hey,
coaches
keep up the good work.
is Jacob's PE teacher.
Yeah, a little skeptical at first. You know, you're thinking, I mean, it's my first year teaching high school.
Why,
I was 8 years
Shane?
in junior high, so I know the kids are obviously smarter in high school, and I thought, man, well, this might be a genius kid.
Utilizing a value stock
Shane.
picking approach inspired by Warren Buffett, Jacob launched Wall Capital Investment Group, which solicited middle-class clients and promised them the world. And no, I'm not being tongue-in-cheek here. That's what it said in his promotional materials, that he promised them the world. He even dressed
He
like
was
it,
better.
too.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was there
I
somebody
just,
that influenced you, or was there...
Gordon Gekko, if anybody.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So you liked him or you hated him?
No, I liked Gordon Gekko.
Okay.
I always thought he was a cool guy.
Okay.
His investors were middle class mom and pop. That's a huge red flag. A hedge fund, generally speaking, is used by institutional investors, very sophisticated investors. At that point, his gym investor, he was soliciting a stock investment. So that stock
Hey, that
investment
doesn't seem like a red
was
flag to me.
SEC regulations. But when he was also soliciting derivatives investments, he was soliciting mom and pop. People who don't
I don't know shit about hedge funds. When does GameStop come in?
ins and outs.
Because that's what matters to
particularly
me.
of derivatives.
Still in high school, Jacob, who
Because
was by
Wall's
no
not
means a
preaching
big
the good
player
word of
other than
GME.
perhaps in his own mind,
He's not
decided
qualified.
that he was ready for the big leagues. Even though Wall Capital was nothing more than a cute little project funded by adults eager to support a young man's passions, Jacob boasted in promotional material that his firm used a guerrilla warfare mentality towards investing that was able to outperform the institutional giants
I am here to
again
expose the
and
evil.
again.
Oki
which
is
he had
evil for
taken to
trying to say
calling
Wohl's not
the
a
most
genius.
revolutionary hedge fund in the world.
In 1975, IBM ran the personal computer game. And if you wanted to have a personal computer, you had to be super rich. Until a young kid named Steve Jobs came around and changed the whole thing. That's what I'm here to do.
Wait a minute. You are going to change the whole
He's
investing
Steve Jobs,
world like
dumb
Jobs
asshole.
Change the computing world?
That's what I'm going to try to do, Stuart.
And this actually worked to attract a handful of investors.
How did he
impressed
go
by
from
the
this
17-year-old's on-air
to talking
appearance.
about BDSM
And this is where the story
roleplay?
takes a darker turn, because Jacob Wohl decided to scam the ever-living shit out of them.
I see.
So Jacob kind of breaks onto the scene.
So that's how we get there.
Outside of his high school or whatever.
Okay.
His first sort of brush with infamy is when he claims to be kind of this teen hedge fund genius, and he has a couple of these quote-unquote hedge funds. I believe he goes on Fox News. He gets on TV a couple times as kind of this like wonderkin.
Fox News really does
in
bring
reality,
anyone on.
In March 2015, a man named David Diedrich contacted Jacob after seeing him on TV. When they spoke on the phone, Jacob
baby, these are
grossly
big numbers.
mischaracterized the size and scope of Wohl Capital Investment Group. He told Diedrich that it managed 178 accounts and between $9 to $10 million in assets, even though the reality was that Wohl Capital had no more than 13 investors
It's
and
pretty
managed
close.
no more than $500,000 in assets at any time.
No,
he also
that's
claimed that Wohl Capital Investments
slight
trades had a
exaggeration.
99.5% profitability of profit. Months later, Jacob told Diedrich that his investment had grown to $89,000.
Let's go.
But when Diedrich wanted to collect, Jacob only paid him $44,000 after stalling for several days. Less than half of his initial investment and purported
That's pretty
gains.
good.
Jacob told Diedrich that the difference was due to losses. But an investigation by the National Futures Association indicated that his trading account told a different story. He was actually making money, not losing it. The National Futures Association
That's actually
is
shocking.
a self-regulatory
Actually
organization
shocking.
for the U.S. derivatives industry.
He's the chosen
Jacob
one.
became a member of the NFA in February 2016. As a member of the NFA, Jacob was required to comply with their rules in order to continue to operate his commodities advisory firm. So when David Diedrich sent a complaint to the NFA saying that Jacob defrauded him, they launched an investigation.
I think another one of the interesting sub-tracks of this whole story is that
I think what I love most about when Oki does one of these deep dives is he brings on people like this.
As a sheriff to protect investors seriously. And that's when he ran into the NFA, the National Futures Association, which is an independent self-regulatory body that polices the derivatives industry to root out guys exactly like Jacob Wohl. So what does Wohl do? Wohl goes into that industry.
And makes millions.
How preposterous is that?
The National Futures Association
It's
learned
called
of two
being
trading
bold.
accounts
He's Steve
controlled by
Jobs,
Jacob
baby.
Wohl. One
Didn't
in
you
the
listen?
name of NEX Capital, and the other in the name of Michelle Wohl, Jacob's mother. The NFA complaint reads, these accounts had a total of approximately $260,000 in deposits, trading gains of approximately $36,000.
This makes me feel extremely unintelligent. Well, here, I'll break down something simple for you. Start an NFT. Hey, millions, baby. Keep in mind, anyone can do it. I bring this up every time. This guy made over $1 million just posting this selfie. He'd take a selfie every day and sold them as NFTs, baby. So if ever you feel dumb when seeing something like this scam, just know you too can scam people, man. Anyone can do it. It's right there at your fingertips. You just gotta maybe NFTs, pivot, crypto, something. There's so many ways of scamming. Like, yeah, maybe you can't manage a fake hedge fund, all right? Okay, barrier to entry there, it's a little high. You have to have, apparently your mom sign off on it, your dad already has to be rich, and your gym teacher's got to be a fucking idiot. And then you actually have to set up with the NFA. Yeah, I can understand a lot of hoops there, but bro, you can take a selfie and just mint it on the blockchain. Free. I mean, not for the environment, it's not, but hey, when you're multi-millionaire from selfies, who cares, right? Fuck it. Pollute. So many ways to scam.
On June 20th, 2016, a team of NFA investigators made an unannounced visit to what they thought was NEX Capital's headquarters. What they found when they visited what Jacob listed as the main office of NEX Capital wasn't what they expected. Instead of an office, they found a residential home, Jacob's father's house. When they rang the buzzer, no one answered.
Oh.
Their emails and phone calls
Too busy
also
making
went
money.
unanswered.
You know, we went to the first address he said he had listed for his business.
This guy kind of looks like Jamie
And,
Kennedy.
You know, we see a guy peeking out the window and then he won't answer the door. And then they go to another house and there's a little kid who answers the door. It's supposed to be an office and it's just a little kid and it's presumably like Jacob's brother or something.
The address took them to an office at La Sierra University, which was closed at the time. So here's where things get even funnier.
But then
David
Jacob
Wohl,
bought it.
Jacob's dad called the NFA team furious with them for what he called stalking his son and threatened to file a report against them with the
What?
LAPD. Additionally, he
What?
argued that the NFA had no authority over his son or NEX Capital, as Jacob had withdrawn his membership earlier that month. But the NFA rules state that a
Can you
request
just
to
do
withdraw
that?
membership becomes effective 30 days after the withdrawal
Don't you need
request
that
is made.
to have the hedge
It was
fund?
the 23rd of June, and Wohl made his request to withdraw membership on June 13th.
Here's the bottom line. There are some exceptions, but by and large, if you sell a commodity investment, offer it to the public, you have to register. Now, if you're just trading commodities, you don't need to register. But if you're selling it, you have to register.
Instead of listening,
Okay.
David Wohl repeated that he had contacted the LAPD, and any attempts to contact Jacob would result in their arrest and prosecution.
Looks like a trustworthy
Their
guy.
hands tied and Jacob refusing to comply with their
Oh, man.
investigation, the NFA decided to permanently bar Jacob Wohl and NEX Capital from NFA membership, which effectively meant that he was permanently banned from running a hedge fund that managed futures derivatives trading. This
Yeah, so
wasn't the
that's
only
what I was
time
saying.
David Wohl threatened.
How can you like just pull out of an NFA if you're managing a hedge fund, right? I didn't even know that was like an option. I thought you had to be with the NFA to even have that kind of shit. But I guess it's only one. I'm kind of a fucking idiot when it comes to like hedge funds and shit. But I feel like without that, why would you ever trust the hedge fund?
He did the same thing to William Legate, a software developer best known for creating the iOS application Fake-A-Text when he was 14. David Wohl first contacted Legate after he refused to remove tweets about Jacob. David Wohl was particularly upset about a photoshopped
Is there
image
some
of
Vaseline?
Jacob Wohl wearing a corncob costume. Corncobbing refers to people who refuse to accept that they have lost a debate and continue to insist otherwise.
Hey, we noticed you're back at it on Twitter again, sending out defamatory, actionable tweets, complete lies about Jacob. I'm
Stop having your dad fight for
at my
you.
wit's end with you. We are going to file suit. We're going to serve you at your address, apartment. We're done messing around with you. So you can delete those tweets immediately, or you'll be served with suit very quickly. So it's your choice, Bill, Willie, William, whatever your name is. But
I hope he kept them up.
now.
There was one profile that had me in what looked like I was wearing a corn costume, like a corn.
Oh,
stalk,
what?
A piece of corn.
That's
One of
fucking
Jacob's
silly.
tactics
It's
to
so
solicit
goofy.
investors was to hire models off of Craigslist to reel them in.
How
Jacob
does
would
that
bring
help?
these women along to investment conferences, get
How
them
is that
to flirt
helpful?
with investors. And when an investor took the bait, then Jacob would
I'll
swoop
fuck
in
you if you
and
invest
make a
in
pitch.
Jacob's company.
Jacob hosted a number of websites such as wallgirls.com and MelanieRiosManagement.com, which is the name of a porn star. The main records show that he also registered buyabadbitch.com and buyaslut.com.
Hey, Jacob's a lot of things, but a liar he is not. This man is really committing to it. Buyabadbitch.com. Is that shit still live? Why would you ever go to buy a slut when buy a bad bitch is already out there? Feels like they compete with each other. How does this even help too? I want to buy a bad bitch. Oh, you mean in order to buy a bad bitch, I have to somehow put my money into Jacob's company? Oh.
He told the Daily Beast, quote, "Fake websites and Craigslist ads were posted by trolls of mine in 2016, and I immediately reported them to the FBI. Wallgirls.com featured a section called Wall Girl of the Month. Sometime in the summer of 2016, Jacob uploaded a photograph of a young woman without her consent and described her as one of the newest additions to the agency. That young woman's mother told the Daily Beast
Must
that
have been a
Jacob
troll.
reached out to her daughter, representing himself as a social media manager of Instagram models.
Oh my
and promised
God.
to make her famous. Jacob then used her photos on wallgirls.com and made her a Wall Girl of the Month.
Yucky.
He eventually took her photos down after her mother called him and told him to do so.
Okay, so at this point, he's banned from the NFA for life. Posts pictures of himself on Twitter with Instagram models going to Las Vegas. I mean, he was just doing brazen defiance of regulatory authority.
Well, when you're
And then
Jacob,
Arizona
bro, you're above the law.
he'd ultimately find the police would get him as well out of California.
On September 27, 2016, the Securities
How are we
Division
only
of
in
the Arizona
2016 with
Corporate
this
Commission
guy?
filed its temporary order to cease and desist, a notice of opportunity for hearing against Jacob Wohl and his partner, Matthew Johnson,
Things a bit stoic.
barring them from activities in the state. The Arizona Corporate Commission's investigation began after David Diedrich, the same man who sparked the NFA investigation, filed a complaint. This would be the last time that David Diedrich would file a complaint against Jacob Wohl. He later committed suicide. How much it had to do with being defrauded by Jacob Wohl is unknown.
Sure, yeah, so
Well, it got
Arizona
really
investigates
sad.
him for
Jesus Christ.
security sales. He ends up, I believe, pleading out or essentially cutting a deal where he's going to owe tens of thousands of dollars that he still years later hasn't paid back. And this guy is like, oh crap, I need to get my money back. And then Jacob, the money has disappeared. And so this guy ends up killing himself. And so Jacob has been charged in that case.
May or may
The
not be
Arizona Corporate
correlated.
Commission's filing named 4 investors
Probably
who
didn't
were
help.
victims of Jacob's alleged fraud, false or deceptive claims, and bad acts. The rest are referred to as Investor 2, 3, and 4. Investor 2 gave Jacob and NEX Capital a $20,000
that's a good
check
idea,
in early
lasagna.
December 2015, but stopped payment of the check she had tendered to NEX Capital a month later when she suspected foul play. Investor 3, like Diedrich, contacted Jacob in March 2015 after seeing him on television. Investor 3 gave Jacob $5,000
Yep, that
to
sounds
invest
about right.
after being led to believe that he would receive a high rate of return if he invested. By January
They sell 'em on Fox
2015,
Business.
Jacob only returned a check worth
Gateway
nearly
to getting
$3,000. When Investor 4 contacted Jacob on July 18, 2016, she had just received an inheritance of $100,000. She found a Craigslist ad for Jacob's house flipping investment firm called Montgomery
Craigslist?
Assets, which Jacob
Why?
started to focus his attention on after being banned from trading derivatives.
Thanks
He
for
told her that
switching
the
to Prime
firm had
Peanut.
30 years of experience and had been around for a while. Despite
I
the
didn't
fact
even
that
know
he
you could find this kind of shit on Craigslist. Oh, let me look at something real quick. I've only ever bought physical items. I didn't know I could find... Now, do they mean like Craigslist ad, like maybe he paid for something on the side of the site? Or quite literally like a real Craigslist ad like, hey, your money's going to be good with me for this. I have immediately found one almost exactly like it, I think. Yeah, in the jobs and services. I've never even gone there. I thought you could like only sell items. Well, I knew you could sell services. Like I always knew about like the dark side of Craigslist and shit where you could arrange for sex and shit through it. I guess I just never really thought about the jobs side. That's crazy. I mean, if you're putting that kind of money into something you saw on Craigslist as an investment, you were really asking for it.
The commission found that neither Wohl nor his companies were licensed as a broker and therefore were not permitted to provide investment advice or register to offer and sell securities in Arizona. Additionally,
They went
they
off
found
book
that
'cause they
Jacob
were so
Wohl
smart.
repeatedly misrepresented the size of his companies and the risk associated with investments if he didn't agree to file a consent decree. Instead, he was only fined. However, to this
Which
date,
means nothing
Jacob
'cause his
Wohl
dad's rich.
still hasn't paid his fines.
Oh.
The ACC is now working with the Arizona Attorney General's office to pursue collection efforts against Jacob
Thanks,
Wohl.
give some swish.
The ACC held an open meeting in which the board questioned Jacob Wohl's lawyers about the outstanding payments and if Wohl would ever pay his fines.
Can I make one comment?
Before you do,
Okay.
Commissioner Dunn, are you comfortable with that?
No, I think we should ask the
Just tell him
counsel
no.
here that his
Fuck
client
him.
is willing to agree to this. I'm wrestling with this too. If there's been a second default of payment on this, I'm wondering why we're going through this exercise and why you think your client is going to be able to make payment just on a later date if he's not able to make a payment today.
I do not believe that there was an original
In July 2016, Jacob Wohl was contacted by undercover authorities
He blew
posing
it.
as a real estate agent and as a client who wanted to invest money. After multiple conversations, Jacob Wohl asked
This
him
dude's
to
whole
invest
life was, like,
$100,000 with his
scamming.
house flipping company, Montgomery Assets. A warrant was issued by the Riverside County DA's office for Jacob Wohl's arrest for one
Please do
count of
subject.
violating the California Corporations Code by selling an unregistered security. Hearing,
So when is
which
the
has been
BDSM
postponed
shit
due to
coming?
COVID-19.
Please,
Okay,
it's your
last
one,
but
Big
not
Mac.
least, Jacob Wohl was investigated by the SEC. Jacob Wohl was the subject of a
Oh, what do
year-long
they know,
investigation
though?
by the United States Security and Exchange Commission. The SEC concluded that they found no grounds for enforcement action.
What?
However, Victoria Levin, an assistant regional director in the SEC's
What?
enforcement division, stated that their conclusion must in no way be construed as indicating that the party has been exonerated or that no action may ultimately result from the staff's investigation.
What does the SEC do
In an
then?
email, Jacob Wohl told Benzinga.com that, quote, "I know very well I have never done anything illegal or immoral."
Everything I've ever heard about the SEC is how useless they are. Have they ever done anything helpful? I feel like I've looked this up on stream 3 or 4 times now. Did I ever conclude that they've ever find a case that they've actually helped with or done anything useful with? Oh, on their website, SEC accomplishments. SEC had to ban Pornhub on their servers because literally everyone was just watching porn during work hours. What? Thanks to some swag daddy, that real? April 23rd, 2010. SEC staffers watched porn as economy crashed. And then in 2021, a follow-up. The Pornhub SEC meme was real, and then there was a link to proof. So apparently there was some kind of epidemic at the SEC where their workers were constantly watching porn. So needless to say, they're fucking killing it. SEC is good. They're doing a good job, I guess.
Serious? Before I talk about how Jacob Wohl pivoted from a life of petty financial fraud into becoming a political smear merchant, I'd like to introduce you to his partner, Jack Burkman.
I totally forgot there was another actor here with them. There's no way Jack Burkman's story is as interesting as Jacob's.
Our former Clinton White House staffer David Goodfriend and Jack Burkman, attorney at J.M. Burkman & Associates.
Hey,
and you
Burkman.
know how it works, guys. 20 seconds to make your case, and then we go at it after that. Jack, you probably don't even need 20 seconds to tell us why you don't think it should be expanded.
Jack Burkman was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Strangely, he has not publicly disclosed his exact birthday, but he was likely born in either 1965 or 1966.
He's part of the secret space program,
After
then.
graduating from Georgetown
Comes
with
full
a law
circle.
degree, he enjoyed quite an accomplished professional career beginning in the 1990s. However, midway through the 2010s,
I actually feel like I've heard
Jack
of that.
Burkman became bored with lobbying. Really wanted was media attention at any cost. In 2014, he gained the attention he desired by saying he wanted openly gay football players banned from the NFL after Michael Sam, who at the time was a college football star, announced that he was gay.
Now, local lobbyist Jack Burkman plans to propose legislation banning gay athletes from joining the National Football League. Tonight we have Jack live in the newsroom. Jack, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Good evening.
Good evening. So what is this about,
So
Jack?
what the fuck
Some
is
are
up with
already
that,
calling this a
Burkman?
stunt.
No, hardly a stunt. It's about restoring common decency, Mike.
Jack's brother
Oh
James, who's gay, denounced his actions with a tweet stating that he was being an ass. Soon, Jack's campaign to ban gays from the NFL fizzled. In 2016, Jack Burkman gained media attention again by inserting himself in Seth Rich's murder investigation.
Now to our top story. An Omaha family is grieving tonight after their son was shot and killed in Washington, D.C. over the weekend.
Seth Rich was born and raised in Omaha. He worked for the Democratic
Why would
National
Burkman be
Committee
part
in
of this?
DC.
Seth Rich was a 27-year-old DNC staffer who was shot on early Sunday morning on July 10, 2016, while walking home from a bar. A police investigation suspected that he was the victim of a botched robbery, but dubious rumors spread that he was assassinated for leaking Hillary Clinton's emails. Jack Burkman offered a
All right.
$130,000 reward to anyone with information about Seth Rich's murder.
Hi, I'm Jack Burkman. Today I want to talk to you about something very important, the murder of Seth Rich. As you may know, I have formed an independent commission to investigate this murder, but we need more information.
Why?
We need to
Why?
hear from you. Please check
Why would
out
you
our
tell
website,
fucking Jack Burkman?
whokilledseth.com.
But soon, his relationship with the
It's
family
gonna be nothing but
soured.
lies.
They called him a publicity seeker and were especially disturbed by his decision to film a reenactment of Seth Rich's murder.
Save your breath. Turn not around. Walk. Walk.
You don't wanna do anything.
What are you doing?
Deciderman. Wow, Burkman. You've really done it. Did Darman make this? Somehow Jack Burkman is
They
goofier
cut
than
contact
Jacob.
with him shortly after that.
But this is where things get interesting. I wasn't expecting anything bad. And bang, 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 I feel 2 shots in my leg.
Then the police say Burkman was hit with an SUV.
By some miracle, a girl who was on the second floor there,
What?
staying there, flung open the window and screamed, and that's probably what saved my life because he then reversed course, skedaddle.
This guy's like living fanfic. And then everyone clapped. Holy shit. Yeah, somehow Jack Burkman is goofier than Jacob. And substantially so. Hopefully he also claims that he did Secret Service work or part of the Secret Space Program, something like I can't talk about my training. In fact, I was actually about to kill the driver of the SUV myself, but the lady flung open the windows and I didn't want to subject her to such trauma after I ripped his head from his shoulders, so I let him drive away.
Hang on, you said there's a lot of young people your age that are sort of closeted Trump supporters. Tell me about them. You're 18.
You see, in this case, Cruz has this, very real penchant towards lying, very Hillary-esque.
He's sick, right?
And he's being called out for it.
So where does a spurious crook go after being banned from training securities at the age of 19? Well, the world of online politics, where grifters with the morality of executioners tend to shine. The wave of Donald Trump spawned many online personalities bereft of any qualifications other than a Twitter account and an ability to pander to all things MAGA. The movement was littered with unscrupulous characters like Candace Owens, who emerged on the scene after she identified the earning potential of the Trump bandwagon, despite the fact that she ran a site doxing trolls who made offensive comments online that exact same year. He decided to become an online political commentator. He started live streaming on YouTube, recording a podcast, and he created a blog called The Washington Reporter, which branded itself as a producer of independent journalism and hard-hitting investigative reports. And it was later discovered that his website's code of ethics was directly plagiarized from ProPublica. A simple way to look at how he marketed himself at this time is just to look at his Twitter bio.
He's busy having sex.
His Twitter account featured a bio that read, Trumponomics expert, financial and political commentator.
How rich was his dad?
Well,
God damn.
His father, David Wohl, was a Donald Trump surrogate, which is probably how he got the opportunity to meet the former president. Donald Trump retweeted Jacob Wohl back when it was uncharacteristic for him to do so. And I gotta say, this was very, very uncharacteristic for Donald Trump to do at the time. He never retweeted anybody. But here he was retweeting Jacob Wohl, and that got him a lot of attention. So much attention that articles were written about Jacob Wohl, wondering who he was. So basically, Jacob Wohl was Donald Trump's #1 bootlicker, reply guy, ass kisser. Perhaps you're not familiar with the term reply guy.
When does he start doing the BDSM?
It's fairly self-explanatory.
Who?
Two brothers from Florida who amassed hundreds of thousands of followers by replying to every Donald Trump tweet with some variation of Orange Man bad. Like Jacob Wohl, the Krasensteins had a history of fraud before getting into online politics. The Department of Justice seized over $500,000 of their money and assets because they ran a Ponzi scheme and committed wire fraud.
Ponzi
Years later, the
scheme. That's
Krasenstein
good
brothers
stuff
became
now.
lightning rods of the hashtag resistance to Donald Trump movement. And they basically used this to grow a following and make money. Another way that Jacob Wohl gained a lot of attention online were his hipster coffee shop tweets. Basically, the premise of these tweets were that he overheard liberals in a hipster coffee shop whispering about secretly supporting Donald Trump. These tweets were so widely mocked that there's a Know Your Meme page about them.
So I think Jacob's kind of breakout moment on Twitter was that he would always tweet. He came up with this kind of trope.
I never saw the coffee shop tweets, but I believe him.
At a hipster coffee shop, and it was kind of counterintuitive for what you might think would happen there. Like it was very specific things that, like, surely you wouldn't hear this, and then he just kept tweeting it all the time, and so it kind of became a meme on Twitter. And he, as we would later find out with other Jacob things, he has.
I don't think this guy's a psycho. I think he's just a fucking idiot who believed in. So he just never stopped thinking he was right.
He's clearly lying through his teeth.
Well, I mean, he had a whole history of scamming way before the politics.
It's unclear how Jack Burkman and Jacob Wohl first met, or why they decided to
If he
create
just came in,
fake
though, I can
smears
see how
against
you'd think
major
that.
politicians
Well, he
who
had a
they
whole
considered
fake
to be
hedge fund.
enemies of Donald Trump. If cancel culture created an environment where everyone is guilty until proven innocent, then in theory, all they had to do was create a false accusation to ruin someone else's life. It's a tactic.
He's not a scammer. He's a good businessman. He is by definition a bad businessman and a scammer. He got immediately blasted and barred forever from the NFA, meaning he could never operate the hedge fund again and didn't make any money out of it aside from like the little bit he got from the first guy who ended up killing himself. So he was not only a shitty scammer, but he was also a shitty businessman too. So I don't know where you're getting that from. Like so far everything he has tried, he has failed at, as of this point. He did scam people, but he didn't make much off of it. He could still suckle his daddy's teats because his dad had so much money. And so far, that's exactly what he did. That's pretty much where he's gotten all of this position of power from, because his dad has so much money that keeps defending him. He hasn't done anything on his own yet, successfully.
For example, the 7th president of the United States, Andrew Jackson, was accused by his political opponents of being the son of a prostitute and a black man. But as you'll soon learn, not when wielded by Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman. Pay close attention because their Robert Mueller smear was as needlessly convoluted as it was sublimely stupid.
And so in, I believe, the fall of 2018, Jack has teamed up with Jacob. And the circumstances here are still a little confusing of how they teamed up. But they team up and they say, we have a woman who was sexually assaulted by Robert Mueller maybe 10 years ago. And, this is going to be a big deal. And
they make a spectacle out of it, like the first one?
These guys as kind of like scurrilous characters.
As surviving,
but they didn't think of them as like guys who are just have no credibility whatsoever, just completely gonna.
Oh god, I hope they did a whole song and dance out of it like the BDSM one. That's what I really want to see.
On that day, Jacob Wohl tweeted, "Spoke to a prominent DC insider today who told me that there are several women prepared to make credible allegations against dirty cop Robert Mueller.
Hey guys, we're here to talk about Robert Mueller and his sexual abuse, and is he an alcoholic? Is he an alcoholic?"
A day later, he said that he had witnesses that claimed Robert Mueller is a drunk.
It's like a car
He also said
salesman.
that he talked to 7 women who claimed to have been harassed by Robert Mueller, and that one woman might come forward.
He carries around a flask, he carries it and drinks straight booze. Even more serious, it appears that Bob Mueller has really a whole lifetime history of harassing women. We have now talked to 7 women who claim to have been harassed by Bob Mueller.
Emailed several reporters that a man who claimed to work for Jack Burkman offered her $20,000 and a payment of her credit card debt if she agreed to make up accusations of sexual misconduct against Robert Mueller.
I want to read a little of this. How does a bribe offer work? Damn. Offered to pay off the credit card debt down to the T. There's no way they ever think this shit would work though, right? Well, I mean, I guess it probably does at some point. But like, they could just take the money and then release the email. Like, if someone's like, Charlie, hey, I'll give you 20 grand if you say fucking Jack Burkman has a scat fetish. I know you met Jack Burkman at a hipster coffee shop one time. I'll give you 20 grand if you say you saw him go out back and he had a lady shit on him. Be like, yeah, sure. Take the 20 grand, I make my statement, and then I post this the next day. Like, what's there to protect them? I could just do both. I could have my cake and eat it too. Yeah, I mean, I guess they could send over I haven't finished reading it, so maybe there is something about an NDA at the bottom. I mean, I guess signing the affidavit, but that doesn't mean that she can't also release the email, right? Unless maybe I misunderstand how the affidavits work. Even if there is an NDA, it wouldn't do anything because it's illegal. Yeah, true, I guess. True. So there's really nothing they can do to cover their ass. You could just take the 20 grand and just say, they paid me to say it. And I got 20 grand.
Who she said she worked with at a law firm in 1974. Now, do you remember?
Isn't accepting the bribe isn't accepting the bribe illegal? I mean, I guess making a false statement would be. But if you could just prove that you were coerced into it, and then just say, they forced me to take the 20 grand too. It's like, there's plenty of wiggle room. You could absolutely make a case. Though, I mean, it is obviously cleaner just to not do it, but if you just really want that 20 grand, you could absolutely argue the shit out of it.
Remember how I said that this smear was needlessly convoluted?
Hey, thanks for the raid, Liana.
Well, later it turned out that Lorraine Parsons
Hope you had a great stream.
didn't
Thank you for the
exist.
raid again.
She was a fabrication by Jacob Wohl and Jack Burkman. And the reason they did that? Who knows? Journalists tried to contact the law firm that she said she worked at, but there was no record that she ever worked there. By the way, unlike Lorraine Parsons,
What are we
Jennifer
watching?
Taub is actually real.
You'll see something
Simon
goofy
Frick,
here
on the
soon.
other hand, was not.
Simon Frick.
The name of the email was Simon Frick, but someone named Jacob Wohl.
They did the
has
same
later
scam
admitted
10
that
times.
He's behind that organization. This other person, Lorraine Parsons, no one's really sure if she exists. So what's interesting is the story broke about her because she'd been sending someone using that name, sending this email around to folks, and has never been able to be contacted. Right.
Simon Frick offered her payment to speak about
How
past
can you not
encounters
trust
she
Simon
might have had
Frick?
with Robert Mueller. Jennifer Taub has never met Robert Mueller.
Experience,
Hope you had a good Valentine's Day.
with sexual assault. So perhaps they read that and thought, well, she wrote about this, maybe she'll make up stories.
The firm, Surefire Intelligence, which Simon Frick said he worked for, was a bogus private intelligence agency made up by Jacob Wohl.
Does it still exist? Oh my god, it's still around, baby. in all its glory. Private intel agency, who we serve. No one specific, just general, just general statements. Who we serve, law firms, financial institutions, international corporations, and high net worth individuals. But like, who specifically? Who we serve, God. Yeah, maybe I'll have to hire them. Give them a case to solve? I mean, obviously there's no one actually running the site anymore since Jacob is in hot water. But hey, maybe when he gets out of jail in 20 years or something, he could check and be like, all right, time to actually use surefire intelligence. Oh, looks like Charlie's got a case from back in 2022.
They say, we had this investigated by this company called Surefire Intelligence. It's like a very elite, spy service essentially, but not quite. Someone called Surefire Intelligence's phone number, which went to Jacob's mom's voicemail.
Thanks, Schwalbe.
Suggesting that Jacob was in fact behind it. A lot of the pictures of
What an
Surefire
oversight.
Intelligence employees were in
Mom,
fact
I need your phone.
actors and models that he clearly just pulled. It was like Bar Raffaelli, like Leonardo DiCaprio's ex-girlfriend. And in fact, the picture of the head of Surefire Intelligence on his LinkedIn, if you brightened it, it was just a picture of Jacob. It was like a very shadowy picture, and it's just a picture of him. So clearly the scheme had already kind of...
That's such a Jacob thing to do.
Jacob Wohl set up Surefire Intelligence as an LLC a month before the Mueller smear. But he used it before then to scam people out of petty amounts of money and to pick up girls. Jacob had a history of using the alias Michael Cohen. Jacob presented himself as a 25-year-old Harvard dropout, an ex-Mossad agent, who was the leader of Surefire Intelligence. Prior to the Mueller smear, Jacob made Craigslist advertisements offering private investigation services through Surefire Intelligence. And some people took the bait. To Julian, Surefire Intelligence seemed legit.
How?
It had a sleek website, an impressive roster of investigators, and there was a Medium post about it called Surefire Intelligence, the CIA for hire for the rich and famous. The Medium post claimed that Surefire was made up of a staff of ex-Mossad agents, which included forensic accountants, former intelligence professionals of various nationalities, cyber specialists, and a translator fluent in 8 languages. The article was written by Evan Goldman, who claimed to be an Israeli journalist covering the shadowy world of private intelligence. Unsurprisingly, Evan Goldman did not exist. A reverse Google image search showed that
how did this guy even have
time
to
from
get
a model
laid
named Oren Katan.
When he made 1,000 fake sites and
Carolyn
people?
Cass was also duped by Jacob Wohl and Surefire Intelligence. Carolyn had fallen on hard times after being swindled by her trust fund officer and then being scammed out of her inheritance by a social media manager who promised to make her a pop star. After filing a case against the social media manager, she sought out a private investigator. So she looked on Craigslist. There she found Surefire Intelligence and a man named Michael Cohen, which was Jacob Wohl's alias.
Who goes to Craigslist
on the
for this
social media
shit?
manager and charged Carolyn $2,000 for his services. Carolyn pawned the title of her car to pay him. Several weeks later, Jacob informed her that he was going to drop the case as it was too expensive for him to proceed. Despite her disappointment, she didn't complain. Perhaps because by then, the two had already formed a romantic relationship. They dated for several months. On October 30th, 2018, Jack Burkman announced that he'd reveal the first of special counsel Robert Mueller's sexual assault victims
Holy
at a press
shit.
conference to be held on November 1st, 2018 at the Rosalind Holiday Inn.
Only about 1,000 yards that way, we will unveil the first of the
Thank
sex
God he's
assault
making it a
victims of Robert
spectacle.
Mueller.
Jacob Wohl made a similar announcement on his Twitter. By then, many journalists were already onto their ruse. Interviewed Wohl and Burkman and released a video that's since been scrubbed from the internet. During the interview, the duo claimed that their allegations were credible and well vetted. Hours later, the Gateway pundit removed the document, recanted the story, and announced that they would investigate Jacob Wohl. You'd think that they'd have a great plan up their sleeve to make the whole thing seem legitimate.
We'll just do the
answer
press
is
conference, as is.
Instead, they proceeded to mess up even more.
Fuck yeah.
The person they chose to pose as Robert Mueller's victim
Oh
was none
my
other than
God.
Caroline Cass, the Texas oil heiress I spoke about earlier, who was romantically involved with Jacob Wohl. One night while speaking to Jacob on the phone, Caroline told him that she'd been date raped by a former employer in a hotel room several years prior. Naturally, Jacob consoled her and thanked her for trusting him enough to share that with him, right? No, that's not what he did. Instead of doing what someone with a soul would do, Jacob used the details of her story to write a script for her to read at the press conference where she would accuse Robert Mueller of sexual assault. She believed that she would be the catalyst for them to do so, and would be hailed as a hero as a result. Before traveling to the press conference,
Jesus
Carolyn Cass saw a
Christ.
story on her newsfeed that was about Wohl and Burkman. She asked him who Jacob Wohl was. He then told her that he didn't know.
Yeah, no,
At the
Jacob Wohl
airport,
doesn't
the
exist.
ticketing agent referred to him as Jacob
The boogeyman.
after seeing his ID. She questioned him once again, and he told her that it was just an alias that he was using for the day. She finally realized that Michael Cohen was Jacob Wohl after seeing him look at his social media while she pretended to be asleep on the plane.
How did
When they
she
landed
never
in Washington,
once see
Caroline
that?
escaped, booked a flight to New York, and called him to tell him that she wouldn't go through with the press conference. The documentary After Truth, Disinformation and the Cost of Fake News features a segment that follows Wohl and Burkman on the day of the press conference. I can't show you clips from it because of copyright, but I'll put the link in the description below.
That is so fucking baffling to me how
And,
people
you know, I think there
wouldn't
were
pick
still
up
some
on
people
that.
who were, you know,
When it only took one
you don't wanna come out
time
and
that
say
his
something
ID
you
got
don't
looked at and she heard the name Jacob.
And so the big question was who this woman was going to be. And so they had kept her identity secret. They get up there and they don't have their accuser. And I say, well, where's the accuser? And they say, well, she got so many death threats, you know, she didn't want to come. And I said, well, none of us know her name. And then, you know, so HBO had a video, and HBO had them mic'd up. And then they go down the hall and they say, oh, geez, that's a really good point. You know, I guess we need to change our lie up. So then they come up, and this thing is just a disaster of a press conference. Their accuser doesn't show. She later says they put her up to it, and it's all lies. She had been dating Jacob. It's a very kind of twisted story. Jacob, they have an affidavit that they release with her name, but it's misspelled throughout. Kind of disastrously, Jack's fly is down the whole time during the press conference, which, you know, people are tweeting his flies down, all this stuff, you know. And yeah, it was a big mess. I mean, someone in the crowd.
I wish he was just hanging dong.
We'll take one more question.
Just no one told him though.
Are you ready to go to prison? And I said, oh, you know. And so they kind of essentially have to flee their own press conference. So yeah, I would say Jacob's first big foray into politics did not go great.
After the smear fell apart, surprisingly, Carolyn Cass became involved in a relationship with Jacob Wohl once again. He never told her why he lied about his identity. Despite that, they continued their relationship for the next few months until Jacob dumped her because he didn't want to tell his friends that he was dating a 34-year-old. That's when she decided to tell her story to the press. There's a great article written by Lexi
What a
Mandel
weird reason.
that goes over Carolyn Cass's story.
Because you
in far
usually
more
just date
detail.
high schoolers?
The link is in the description box below. So that's it for
I
part one
can't
of this
believe
series.
that's just
In
part
two, I'll
one.
cover Wohl and Burkman's several other smears. In the
That's
meantime, check
fucking
out my
nuts.
Patreon. For only $1, you'll get early access to my future videos 2 days before I upload them to YouTube. To keep tabs on what I'm up to, follow
Thanks
me
to
on
Prime
Twitter.
Printorb.
I also have an Instagram and a subreddit. Links are in the description box below. That's it for now, and until next time.
Watch it, please. It's already 2 a.m. Maybe next time. We'll save part 2, just like we're saving these two from Slap Fight. Squeeze ever recorded. Alright. Oh, let's go, caveman.
Hang on. Then the very different strategy of seeing if Jacob will fit, and I'm holding on to rocks so that he can push.
Seems like he's torturing his son.
He was putting a lot of torque on there. But
why?
Out here. This is literally the worst. So I'm still running my camera gear in there ahead of Jacob. It's attached to a cord in case I have to retrieve it. What? And that's why all my camera gear was attached to that metal Roto-Rooter cord.
Are you having fun, Jacob?
Awful.
This looks,
Jacob,
it looks like a blast.
Gone further than any human in history.
Don't give up, kid. Oh, he's going straight to hell. Like, what is this? Like, let's assume for a second this goes full nutty putty disaster. What the fuck is this little shoestring gonna do to help pull him out? Unless he's also covered in butter. Like, how is he gonna slide out just because you put a cord on him? Like, this is a stupid idea top to bottom. Oh, it's for the camera. Oh, I see I gave too much credit. I thought it was like some kind of failsafe. If he gets stuck, he gets stuck. You leave him. Jesus Christ. I think, like, cave exploration like this is a hobby I'll never understand. The allure is just squeezing into a tight place. Where is the fun? Like, in every other, like, risky activity, I can always see the appeal. I can always understand it. But this is literally just squeezing somewhere. Like, like, I don't even know if there's, like, you could say it's talent. It's more just like, are you born flexible and, you know, thin enough to fit through this crevice?
But if you can't, you'll have to come out late. You have to back in the way you can.
Oh, just look at this. Look at this. It's like little fucking spikes up here. I mean, it looks like they're at least blunted at the tip, but God, that's gotta feel like shit. Hey, I said the same thing about butter.
Give you a different camera, okay?
So I had to yell instruction, Jacob, how to set the
It is
camera down, how to
huge.
set it up, how to manage the lights.
I can still see you. Yeah, that light's pretty bright in there. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
It's about 7 inches by 10 inches, that hole.
Hey, Jacob, do you have everything?
Yeah, let me hang you.
Jesus Christ. So that's the hole? God, it seems fucking awful. That seems absolutely miserable. Yeah, I guess we could watch a compilation. I don't think we're gonna see a squeeze, like, as small as that, though. Good way to hide Spider-Man suits. True, yeah, if you could, like, squeeze in this cave and put them somewhere. Like a little bat lair. Like, this whole activity is just, like, the worst part of, like, anything ever. Like, squeezing through a tight space, it's such a hassle and it's uncomfortable. Like, when someone parks a little too close to you and you can only open your door a little bit and you have to, like, fucking shuffle your way into the driver's seat of your car. That shit sucks. And meanwhile, that's the entire appeal of doing this. I just can't wrap my head around the fun. Like, I'm not a claustrophobic person or anything. It's not like the tight quarters are making me uncomfortable. It's just, I don't get it. It like chat said, it's literally just LARPing as a worm. I don't see where the enjoyment is. I guess maybe getting to the other side, but even then you could just send a camera through to see it anyway. Okay, holy shit, this is a fucking tight squeeze. RuneScape agility training in real life. Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's fair. Holy shit. So what was it in Nutty Putty? It was called the birth canal, right? Where that guy got trapped and died. That's exactly what this, like, is. I can't believe people would actually do it. What a horrible way to go. The guy in the Nutty Putty cave is still in that cave, like his remains. They could never get him out. They tried everything. Like, rescuers tried for 27 straight hours or something with all the blood rushing to that dude's head. He just sat there fucking dying, knowing full well he was gonna die there. That was gonna be his tomb. Honestly, one of the worst ways to go. He went down the wrong hole. Yeah, that's why I said it was called the birth canal. The thing he went down was called the Nutty Putty Cave birth canal. Or I think it was called Satan's birth canal or some shit. I don't remember. And then he just got stuck. He just kept going and going and going. And just, he fucked himself. It was Ed's push. Was it? I thought for sure it was Satan's birth canal. That's another thing. It's always wet. Like, the caves are just filled with water. So it's like extremely sodden and soggy and cold and just yucky. They almost got him, but the rope snapped. Yeah, we watched the whole thing on the Nutty Putty disaster. They had like a rope and pulley system that was actually going to get him out, but then the cave wall just gave way and it snapped. And I never understood why they didn't just put it on a different wall at that point. People like it for the thrill of death. Yeah, but this is like the slowest thrill of death of all time. I don't know, man. It just doesn't make sense to me. I've done it. It sucks ass. I also did it once. My fucking school took us on a field trip to a cave to fit through the little cave holes. They didn't even supervise us. They just brought us to the cave place with no guide and just let us go to holes. I only went through like 2 of them and I was like, this is fucking trash. Those rocks, those walls in the cave, they feel like movie props. Like, they don't even feel real. I don't even know how to describe it. That shit is just so concerning. It's like a Disney... Yeah, it's like the Disney World rocks. Like, it's smooth, but like they almost feel like kind of weightless. It feels like there's nothing behind the rocks. More Bible Man? I'm pretty sure we saw all of the Bible Man. I don't think there's any more. I only like OG Bible Man. New Bible Man is ass. But like the original Bible Man, oh, that guy fucked. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know. Where did I put it? I found my Boys of Valor DVD set. I was moving shit out of my closet to a different closet. and I found my Boys of Valor DVD box set, if you guys remember Boys of Valor. Found all 4 DVDs. What is it? You guys don't know Boys of Valor? I made a video on it a long time ago. They take down the trailer for... Oh my god, am I the last source of Boys of Valor? I remember I had to go through so many hoops just to find them. Like, finding that DVD box set was so hard. What happened to it? Oh my god, yeah, it's down. They had their own YouTube channel. What the fuck? I'm sure it's still on Google. Yeah. Oh, it's on Amazon now. Well, I guess I should have just waited 8 years and I could have bought it on Amazon. Yeah. So the Boys of Valor... Oops, didn't mean to back out. The Boys of Valor box set. It was cool, man. It was all about fighting for God or something. They use like mechs and shit. Read the reviews. Ooh, that's a good idea, actually. Let me see. Well, this just seems cute. Well, this is just mean. Pandering, talentless dribble. Christian media falls on its self-righteous face again. Yikes. I thought Boys of Valor was great. Top left. The worst claustrophobic caving you will ever see. Trigger warning. This is like a Nuke's top 5 video. Caving so claustrophobic, you're gonna piss in your mom's pants. Close your eyes, because you're not sleeping with these scary caves.
Now, so right now I'm breathing out.
It does sound like a fetish, yeah.
I have this rock with me, such that
what's that gonna do?
I can pop off some of these.
Make it call for help?
Which made it very hard to get into.
So what the fuck is it? Wait, what? How is that gonna help him? What? So he brought a safety rock, but you're not gonna be able to, like, chip away enough room? That wouldn't work. I guess he could, like, kill himself quickly so he doesn't have to die an agonizing death. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, his explanation for it doesn't really make sense.
Knuckles, which made it very hard to get into. Now I have to go slow. I can pop off some of these. Knuckles, which made it very hard to get into.
See, like, but you can't.
I have to go slow.
I don't think you could with that rock.
That's that knuckle. I'm gonna be shirtless.
Warning, the actions and stunts performed in this video were done so by professionals. Do not enter a cave.
Dwarven rock cake. He just starts biting on it to lose health.
A lot of people ask why we do this, and
I did ask that.
You're just never gonna get a sufficient answer. Why do you wake up in the morning?
What?
You know, what drives you? What makes you want to get up and go study a subject or go to work or go out, hang out with your friends?
So basically you have no idea why you like doing this.
Nothing, right? This is life. And that's all. This is our way of living.
However, its entrance forbids all but the most mature of cavers, willing to sacrifice their bodies for the task of creating an artistically eloquent and mathematically accurate map.
You know what you could also do, and far be it from me to question the efficiency of cave mapping, you could just you could send a camera in there. You could go in and put a camera on a stick, be like, oh, and, so that's where that path ends, mark it down. Yeah, you could do, like, anything else, fucking drone, anything, besides, like, your full body.
It's very
Sonar, true.
There's a lot going on, a lot of neat formations, but it's very hard to get into. Very, very tight.
Oh, so so they do bring
Upon
tools.
entering the cave, it's immediately obvious that not all of the cavers will fit through the tightest portions of the entrance.
What do you think the danger of that is with rat and bat poo?
After that trip, I did have some, chest, congestion and stuff.
So this is where they were chipping, is through this area here to make this a little easier to squeeze through. This is a big cave,
cowards!
so you gotta get through this to get in there.
Playing on game journalist
Gary
difficulty.
elects to make the squeeze head first,
Boo,
with both arms
they
at his
cheated.
side. Many cavers have a low tolerance for both of their arms trapped at their side.
I imagine they
Small
would.
plastic pieces are laid on the floor to enable the cavers
It
to
looks
make
like he
the
just
tight
went in there and
squeeze.
died.
This is Gary.
So when you're doing this, you literally can't breathe very well, because you can't let your diaphragm expand or anything.
He does not love that at all.
I don't see how his feet are gonna really fit. Oh,
You have to concentrate, he was saying.
I guess they'll fit, but it's gonna be hard to like
If I follow
maneuver.
you, Gary, then I guess I know I can fit. This makes this so much easier.
It looks pretty easy.
I'll save down.
Yeah, this guy's just a real veteran. This cave ain't shit.
Shirt on and everything.
Man's like an octopus. He could fit through anything.
But they must regroup and replan, as the second narrow passage is both longer and tighter.
Where
this
are
is where
they?
even the most experienced cavers may want to rethink their strategy.
Asked to go on a cave dive and make a video, I would never do this. I'm small enough that I know I could fit through some like pretty impressive tight little buttholes, but I don't want to risk it.
Drill is coming.
What if it collapses? I wouldn't even worry about that.
there.
I don't think that would happen.
I shouldn't be talking too much over the show.
Alright. Hey man, they're having fun, they're not hurting anyone. I don't get it, but at the end of the day, if they like it, that's fine. That is one of like the only like extreme activities that I genuinely don't understand though. 2-Star Games agreed to put your face on the train model if you were okay with it. Did they really? Yeah, sounds fucking great. Yeah, absolutely. When does that come out? Let's see, I'm looking it up real quick. It comes out at the end of 2022. Sure, I'll send him a message. It's a YouTuber that's helping make that game, right?